The markets are red hot as we start out a pivotal week in equities with NVIDIA earnings taking center stage. We'll be discussing that, the latest move up in crypto, and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. Before we get going, do us that favor that we always ask and always appreciate. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and remember that nothing we say is financial advice, just a couple of rubes who like talking about the market. So please do your own research for making any buys or sells. Kevin, we are seeing some strength in crypto right now. Equity markets are looking strong. Dow is down the day, but NASDAQ, S&P are up. NVIDIA having a powerful day, just ready to go to new all-time highs if these earnings on Wednesday look promising. How are you feeling today, my man? How was your weekend, and what is your attention on for the week ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing okay today. I think right now my focus on the market is just not getting caught up in the technical analysis. I mean, let's put it this way: it's a hard market to be a TA analyst when all the signs are there pointing at something, and then the market just does the exact opposite of that. So it's been really more of just not letting your emotions or anything kind of dictate your actions. So I've been staying kind of quiet in the market, just waiting for things to happen. Also, yes, rally mustache. We don't like those around here, but we'll let it slide for today. But crypto obviously having a hell of a Monday. What's been really interesting, I think a lot of people have been kind of crowding this commodities trade, where we're seeing lots of people flock into gold and silver up here, right? We talked about how China was buying a shit ton of gold for the past few months, maybe selling off some U.S. Treasuries for gold. But the interesting thing is now retail is starting to get in on this trade. The question is, are we going to break historical level of resistance? Are we going to continue to see these metals rally? And if it's the case, is that saying something maybe greater about the current monetary policy that the Fed has put in place, where we're starting to see even inflation in some of these prices of things that probably shouldn't be going up with the equity market, right? It seems like everything at this point is just going straight up, and that's something that we should really be questioning, especially if we are battling inflation, like trying to get to that 2% goal, as the Fed is really trying to focus, zero in on.
Not a whole lot on the data front this morning, but there was a lot of, I think, interesting Fed speak and changes in optimism from some more bearish people on Wall Street. We saw one of the bigger bears out there, Mike Wilson. He has flipped from bearish to bullish. He has now increased his 12-month S&P target. Pretty well-known analyst. So that was interesting to see. A lot of Fed speakers this morning continuing to push the narrative of, we think that we're on the right track with inflation. We're going to keep these rates where they are. That has been reflected in the Fed funds rate probabilities, all but guaranteed that the rate stayed the same in June. We see a move up in the probability of the rate staying the same in July. So that would mean 3 more chances after that for rates to come down this year. We'll see if that happens. Take it. Yeah. Go into the 10-year, 2-year right here, Kev.
Absolutely, because you brought up a really great point about how a lot of them are starting to get kind of bearish now, right? When we look at this in the 10-year, it's the 10 to 2-year
Bullish,
yield curve. Bullish, my bad. Yeah, I meant bearish on the fact that we're going to get rate cuts. But this is the really fun part. We're below the 200 EMA right now on the daily. That's pretty wild considering we've been, obviously September 2023, tons of rate hikes going into that. And then we got this kind of like surprise news back here, roughly in, where's this, October, yeah, when we started thinking that, okay, this is going to uninvert, the Fed's going to start cutting, but they didn't. And we've just been kind of going back and forth. Our emotions are getting played with here, guys. That's 100% what I'm seeing on this this chart. But what this is also telling me is it looks like the Fed's going to hike again. Now, this doesn't mean that they're going to hike just because it's below the 200. Anything could happen. And I think that the fact that we're living in a VIX world where it's below 12, actually, it's kind of pumped today, but on Friday it closed below 12 for the first time since 2019. Kind of shows you that nobody has any fear in this world, and if they continue to say that they're going to raise rates, the market could rally. It can continue to rally. That's problematic. The only thing that would probably hurt this would be, how much money, how much debt is being created because the yield curve remains uninverted. We start to see capital flee from banks, especially regional banks. People start moving their money into the markets, or they're starting to pay off bills because inflation remains to be really sticky, right? So we're in a very problematic situation like that. It's not sustainable, and this is the longest yield curve inversion in history, I believe, at this point now. Let's see how many months this is. I think the previous was eight. What was this, 19 months? No, this is how long before the recession hit. But this is when we got the recession from 2020, and by the time uninverted, that is, let's say, June of 2022, we're heading into 2 years, almost 24 months. We're at 23 months currently. So that's a wild amount of time. It's never been inverted this long. And I can only imagine what happens when it does revert back to the point where the 10-year yield is higher than the 2-year yield. I can imagine it's chaos. And there's probably a lot of people that are fleeing from one asset class into the bond market because they can guarantee that high yield for a set period of time, right? So you'll probably see a lot of people flock into the 2 year or so that they can get nice 4.5 to close to 5, maybe percentage rates for 2 years. It's guaranteed. Maybe the market cools off in that period of time, and then they can use some of that capital to buy back into the bull market if that's the case. That's what we're, assuming for. That's the timeline that I'm looking at. But the current rate right now, seeing this uninverted and they continuing to be bullish, cause bullish hysteria in the markets, but bearishness in terms of when the next rate cut's going to be. This thing is just getting worse and worse by the day. The fact that we're at 0.41, and then back in October, I believe we were at 0.13. This market just seems to have absolutely went on its head sideways for the most part when they spoke out back in, I believe, what was that, December or so, and he was like, yeah, we're probably gonna get a rate cut, or at least 3 rate cuts in 2024. Now, who knows? Anyone's best guess even if we get a rate cut this year.
Yeah, the odds are in favor as of right now of getting a rate cut. It may not be until September, November, or December. It could be the last meeting of the year.
It's got to be September for the election, man. I mean, even if you want to look at it that way, I feel like they have to at least have one rate cut. Do you know what I mean? The optics of that just make the economy look like it's still strong.
Yeah, it man, I don't know. The election is going to be that.
I think it messes a lot of stuff up, just timing wise.
Biden Trump debate is going to be something else, man. I don't even know what
Drinking
to make
games.
Of that. I mean, listen, I haven't had a drink in 9 months. That might be the end of me not drinking, is having to listen to those two guys talk. I don't know. That may be what does it right there. Okay, let's. Do we want to? I mean, this doesn't really impact the markets. The death of the president of Iran was pretty wild this weekend. Not sure what the short and long term ramifications are of that one, and I'm not an expert in that area, but there will be impacts on the markets. I just am not the person to go to for that kind of advice, but I wanted to bring it up in case you had any thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I guess buy Lockheed Martin. I don't know. That always seems to be the thing to do. Is when in doubt, just buy Lockheed. I don't know.
Yeah, that Raytheon, right?
Let me pull that up real quick while you're talking.
Yeah, pretty good thing to probably look into. But yeah, I think this is kind of problematic, and it's more that VIX. There's a lot of conflicts that are going on in the world, but nothing is scaring this market. The market continues to push up higher. I don't know. I mean, we got word today that JP Morgan's probably not going to be buying assets at these current prices, right? We know that. That's one thing Jamie Dimon did say today. We also know that a ton of these CEOs also sold off the months ahead, right? And again, the way that LE wave theory works, when we get into these, 5-wave moves to the upside, we are currently in a 5-wave move to the upside. If we look at this on the macro, that 5th wave is 100% retail all the time. Question is, are the corporates buybacks that are happening helping push it up to the point where they're going to have retail kind of distributed to them, and they're the ones that are holding the bag at the top, getting everyone kind of sucked in? I mean, Mike Wilson sucked in this morning, right? He thinks it's going to go up of 80 points from where it currently is. I think that right now we just live in a fearless world, and that's a very big problem considering how much uncertainty there is in this world. Now, I don't necessarily know how much of this is true, but I do want to pull this up. There has been a lot of kind of quiet turmoil in the world. Let's see this over the past 2 weeks. This is from Silicom LFC. Over the past 2 weeks, May 7th, assassination attempt against Saudi Crown Prince. May 13th, Turkish President Erdogan holds emergency meeting following warning of possible military coup. And again, this could all be noise, but these two are these few right here are pretty interesting, right? The assassination attempt on a Slovak PM, citizen arrested for threatening to assassinate Serbian president. Saudi Arabia is hospitalized for second time in 4 weeks. That one not nearly as much, but then obviously what happened yesterday. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that is very wild, not talked about anywhere. And I really question the sanity of people who are just not getting in on the VIX that have huge exposure to this market, right? I'm not saying any of this is going to cause problems, but you don't know what the one thing is that could cause problems and everything else that's kind of lining up with it, right? We know that the consumer is strapped. Let me pull this up right here too, because your favorite account to pronounce their name, the Kobayashi letter, they put out this today. Breaking U.S. credit card serious delinquency rates for most age groups have spiked to the highest level in 13 years. In Q1 2024, delinquencies of 90 days plus rose above 9% for ages 18 to 29 and 30 to 39 levels comparable with the 2008 financial crisis. Even 40 plus age groups who are considered more financially stable have exceeded delinquency levels experienced during the pandemic. Meanwhile, the U.S. credit card debt is sitting at 1.12 trillion, near all-time highs. The average rate on debt is also an all-time high of around 28%, according to Forbes. We're getting to a point where debt is just a major problem. So now you have debt, you have uncertainty in foreign affairs and geopolitics. And we're also at a point where we're just at all-time highs, and the VIX is still at only 12 right now, and we're getting close to the end of that apex. So when something like yesterday happens and there is no response from markets at all, not even in the slightest, not even in crypto or anything like that, I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm insane, but I just know that people are feeling really good right now out there in their positions. And that's exactly where sometimes the market maker wants you to be. So I just think proceeding with caution when you see some of these things, maybe it's not going to cause the next, spike in the VIX, but one day something is going to catch people off guard. I didn't expect the president of Iran to die yesterday. Had no idea that was going to happen at all. And also it's wild that it happens right after OPEX too, right? So it's just timing.
I don't know if the two things are related there, Kevin.
I know, but it seems like only when the weekend the markets are closed and after those big events, it just seems like what the heck? I mean, we usually get like bad news.
To wait till OPEX to assassinate him. Is that what you're going with?
I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying like these things are just wild how they line up some of the time, right? Same thing with the pandemic too. That happened right after OPEX, and then look what happened. The VIX shot up an insane amount.
I want to get your thoughts. Do you think we're going to see an all-time low on the VIX before we see an increase in volatility? I'm looking at it right now. The all-time low is like 8.55, 8.57. Do you think we hit an all-time low on that?
Damn,
in the next year.
That's a dangerous game to play. Right? Because it's very possible, right? I'm not looking at technical analysis so much anymore as just kind of assuming patterns in the markets based off of when we've seen volatility pops, right? It would make sense that we have a really big volatility pop sometime in September, October, right around there. It would be 6 months from the last time that we hit that triangle. But at the same time, we're getting close to that apex. The problem also is that the Treasury also has a ton of cash out there, and it causes a lot of the problems in short volatility trade to continue to go out. So we start seeing a lot more people make money on that. I think that we could see it. I'm just going to say no, though, because we live in a world where everything is inflated right now. And I think that might be arguably the best case scenario against that. So I think maybe closer to 9 to 10, but
okay. I will say, I think Chris is his analysis of the situation around the helicopter is a little bit more a better view of things than the OpEx approach that you were taking there, Kev. Just tossing it up.
All right, I will say this though. I'm just saying that things happen before and after those OpEx dates. It's a really important day, right? Everyone's in the money Friday. Something bad happens on Sunday, right before markets open on Monday. It's not ideal, right? I'm not saying that anything is correlated.
President of Iran dies. I mean, they're correlated.
It's I guess, but I that's not my opinion whatsoever. I'm just saying that things do happen like a bank, collapsing on a Sunday night going into Monday after OpEx. Maybe people who were in calls, are doing pretty well. Something like that is pretty much what I'm saying. Anyone else dying? No, that's I didn't expect that. I don't think the markets expected that either.
No, and then another good piece of advice from
Yeah.
Chris. Good call, especially these days. Will probably be the death of you. Okay, I want to bring up something else, and we could maybe look at this later this week and get more data. But seeing more and more around things finally being settled, coming to a close with Gemini and Genesis and the Earn program, and people finally getting their funds back, myself included. And I think we need to try to look into this and see how much money is going to be coming back into, because this was not like institutional investors. These were your everyday folks who've had money locked up for 18 months now. What could be the impact of that on the prices of these assets? Like, I know myself personally, I'm very tempted to just, whenever I get my tokens, just cash that shit in. And I'm sure there are plenty of others as well. So I would love to get, if we can, a breakdown of, roughly how much was locked up, what tokens were the biggest ones impacted, and how we think that could dictate price action in the coming weeks. Because, I'm going to pull it up on my email real quick. Like, it was back the very beginning of the month, that May 1st, actually, that I got the email from Gemini that the bankruptcy had been approved, and we should be expecting at the latest by early June to start receiving funds. So here in the next 2 weeks, people are going to start hopefully getting their funds back from Gemini that have been locked up for 18 months. How many of those people are going to be like, you know what, let's just keep that in crypto, versus how much are going to be like, no, we just saw the credit card bills right there, right? Like, or defaults. How many people are like, no, I need that fucking cash right now? And is that enough to impact the price on the market?
Definitely. And when did a Gemini happen? I don't really remember too much.
November of 2022.
Okay, so it's FTX thing. So so I have a few questions then that we probably have to look into. One, are they going to give you the asset price the day that it was that it kind of went under?
No, I'm assuming they just recently showed it again in my Gemini account of what the account value is, and it is the number of tokens that were locked up, but at the current value, not the value when they were locked.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's very interesting, because that changes things. That's very different than what FTX was doing, right? They were saying that date of the collapse, you're pretty much getting that USD cash value back. If they're giving you the tokens back, that could definitely change things. It's also
I would
how many
much
people
rather have the USD value, because mine was in ApeCoin and that shit just tanked. So I would prefer the FTX method, but that's not how it's working for me.
Yeah, they're probably just giving you that shit, and they're like, good luck. Hopefully the monkeys go up again. But yeah, it's gonna be I think that's also that we're looking at something when it comes to retail, that 2022 is a very different place than where people are in 2024, right? That's one thing we have to really take into account for. And it's probably retail for the most part, or people that were in crypto that maybe got burned a little bit right at the end of 2022. Maybe they're in profit right now. I think even people that are wealthy and that are, better off are also kind of like, maybe I should have a little bit of cash on the side at this point too. So it's going to be to see the numbers of how many people are getting anything back. We can do some research on that. That'll be more telling. But I think that we are in a very different place than we were in 2022. So that would be my assumption, that people would probably offload some of that. Maybe they keep some of it in crypto. Maybe it's Bitcoin only, right? Seems like Bitcoin dominance is going up. Maybe they just put it into there because it's like, you know what, that seems pretty safe.
Yeah, we will see. Voyager did it. They gave 1/3 tokens and wallet locked to the day it happened. Yeah, from my understanding, we're going to get, and from the email they sent, 97% of the digital assets owed to you as of the suspension date, which was November 16th of 2022. That will occur by early June, and the other 3% will be in the next 12 months. So they're going to be giving back the vast majority of it. And when that hits people's accounts, the temptation to sell that shit and get it into their bank account is going to be pretty high. Or maybe some people are just like, you know what, this is found money. I'm just going to keep it in crypto and see what happens. It's that with the FTX funds being released is going to definitely impact the market in one way or another. Let's get into, to close out the show today, a little bit of the technicals. On the TradFi side, it's pretty flat out there. The NASDAQ is having a good day, up almost 0.75%, led by, surprise, surprise, NVIDIA, which is up 2 3/4%. as we look toward their earnings on Wednesday. The monthly chart for NVIDIA is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Will that continue? Who the hell knows? Earnings have been absolutely crushing it lately. And as we discussed last week, there is going to be, every company is managing expectations, right? They're cutting back on labor and they are setting their targets a little bit lower. They're holding more cash, all of these things so that earnings can surprise to the upside. Does that continue with NVIDIA? We'll find out Wednesday afternoon. What are you seeing in the chart right now, though? I mean, we're overbought. It can stay that way for a while. Will it come down? Are we going to see, I don't think we can't give an answer to, are we going to see a pre-earnings pump or a dump here? But what are you seeing in the charts as of right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my opinion on NVIDIA hasn't changed. About 2 weeks ago, I said that there was a good chance we get a bit of a run up in NVIDIA to all-time highs. I still think that's very possible. And we were calling that maybe around the 50 moving average, like 860 or so. And it looks like it's kind of playing out that way, right? We're getting test some resistance here at 970 or so. Question is, are we going to be able to break it? I think there's a good chance we could, regardless of whatever the earnings are. I think earnings are going to be volatile. But for the most part, I think a lot of the market is still riding on NVIDIA's coattails, right? Huge portion of the entire market cap of the S&P, is comprised of a huge percentage of NVIDIA. We look at stuff like that. I'm assuming it's going to be at least a wick to the upside, probably to all-time highs, and then what happens after that? Maybe that's the blow off top to the ends. This moves to the upside, but you can never count something like this out, right? NVIDIA, I don't know, man. See, it's. I want to say bullish because I know that there's a good chance the market could react to that, and that's how the price reaction works. And we also have the corporate buybacks that are still out there, but at the same time, we look at Taiwan Semiconductors dropping by 18.8% in the month of April. It kind of tells me that maybe the market for some of those things are starting to die down. Some of the hype around it's starting to die down, but it doesn't mean necessarily that the stock price itself can't go up, right? We've definitely seen the inverse of something like Meta, who had bad earnings, and then the stock price shoots up $80 in post-market. Something like that could always happen. So I'm very cautious right now when I look at NVIDIA. I think it's probably going to go to all-time highs.
Let's go over to crypto because Bitcoin just hit 69K. Very nice. And we are having a little intraday pump in the crypto markets. It is moving as we speak. ETH is back over 3,200. Solana 181. We are seeing some of the heavyweights begin to move, and it is, we're on the move right now, Kevin.
Yes, we are.
So we're seeing a live move out of that parallel channel of yours, push into the upside. You got that resistance up top, that white line, 62.5. There we go. Hey, look at this. There's 69.25. We are. It's happening, Kev.
Do you want to see why his technical analysis is sometimes really shitty?
What's that?
Because I could just move this fucking line up here and be like, oh, it barely broke out of it. It's a fake out. Sometimes, yeah, it's like that. But no, I think that this could be the breakout. We were talking about how this could be a bullish channel. I didn't want it to be, but is what it is. It could be a push to the upside. The question is it going to break this white channel that we are in trading, that we've been trading in since 2021, I believe, roughly around there, February 2021. I mean, you did break it back here in November of 2021, but then obviously you quickly reverted from it. Question is there enough strength in this market to push us to the upside? I don't necessarily know. Volumes are low. The price keeps dropping down, and it looks like it's making a bit of a high push to the upside here. Stochastic RSI is pretty overbought, but the weekly points that there is some room to the upside, right? That's the problematic thing here. And now, if we start pushing on the weekly to the upside, and this starts following pretty quickly, then maybe we're getting close to being overbought, and we finally top out here around 75K or so. I think it's very possible 75K could be a height. I also think that 80K could be a height if we continue to push up from here. My question is, though, for alts, where does that leave them? Looks like Bitcoin dominance is dropping a bit here as the price.
That candle, go pull up ETH real quick because it is moving
up. Yeah. There we go.
It's jumping 1 hour, seriously up to 3,300 almost. It's
there's the 1 hour. Fuck. Wild shit. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Oh my goodness. It just keeps going up. But I guess.
I mean, yeah, you love it.
forget Bitcoin dominance, right? ETH's the one that's taking over. But no, it's still looking at this rationally over the next few days. There's some assets I think that are going to do really well and some that will not. And we'll probably get a better telling of what will and what won't. The funny thing is we're breaking out of this at the 50 moving average as we're completely overbought on the stochastic RSI and the daily. It's very possible we get a bearish engulfing in the next few days, or we can just keep pushing to the upside, right? Obviously, those are two scenarios. I'm thinking more that we are getting pretty exhausted up here, especially with volumes being extremely low. One pump of volume pushing up doesn't change my viewpoint at all. I also think that this is still sideways. If we aren't able to break, 33.75, if we start to find resistance around there, then we're probably going to be coming back down. And this is just telling me that we're in a continuation pattern to the, pretty much moving sideways. Very similar to what Chainlink was doing for a period of time. Now, I do want to look at some of these other alts. You look at something like Cardano, right? This probably should be pushing up a little bit more if the crypto market is. It's not, still below the 50 and 200. Got the death cross. We played that a few weeks ago. Now, this one's really interesting. I'm going to pull this one a little bit out so we can kind of see where we are. Matic is just hanging on to the bottom of this channel. It really wants to break into it, but there's a lot of resistance in this area. 74 cents, big resistance, 50 moving averages right there. You're going to be trapped in this little area right here. I mean, you could even argue that this is a bit of a triangle too, right? You could say that this is what we're dealing with, and we're coiling up in here, and we're either going to get a break to the upside or we're going to get a break to the downside. As of right now, I'll stick with it being a parallel channel, but I'm very much open to that triangle. I do think, though, that if Bitcoin does decide to dump when dominance is fairly high, that the alts are probably going to bleed significantly. Now, let's talk about one of your favorite coins. Your favorite coins, not mine, but Solana. It did exactly what I wanted it to do over the weekend. Shot up, hit the top of that parallel channel. I mean, this is pretty amazing. You just see that it's trading in this channel. Volume is extremely low. Let me see if I can find a better Sol. Let's say Sol USD on Coinbase. Volume's very similar. It continues to drop as the price is pushing up, which is, again, something that as a technical analysis makes a lot of sense that we are seeing bearish diversions. However, the price continues to go up, right? So I don't know if I'm the fool here or it's just everyone is getting trapped into being in this market. And I think what we could see is this could be the point where we start to reverse a little bit in crypto. Maybe we don't put in a new high, or maybe this breaks this parallel channel and keeps going up. And again, I'm open to that because we saw that all of last year in 2023, where Bitcoin probably should have broke down from, it continued to shoot up because we saw a massive tether print. But here, looking at this makes total sense from a technical analysis point. Hit the top of this parallel channel. If we're able to break it, then this is either a fake out or it's invalidated. We have to kind of wait a day or so to see if this is going to be a reversal here or not. Maybe we come down and test the 50 moving average once again. But I will say the fact that we keep pushing up higher in price, it just means that the swings are going to be a lot more volatile too, right? The bottom of this channel, $119. Top of this channel right here, $180. If we come back down and test, the 50, that's 152. That's, $30 or so that we drop. If we come down and test the bottom of this where it should be, it's about 137. So I'm not saying swing trade any of this. I'm just saying that this seems pretty volatile at this point. But, testing that bottom parallel channel, it's a 25% drop in Solana. So I really want to see how this plays out. If this breaks above it, then obviously it could be pushing up a lot more. If it breaks down from it, this might not be and it holds the support here, there might not be a bad bounce that we could get, and maybe this keeps trading sideways. There's going to be something that definitely pulls crypto down. I don't know what it is. Maybe Bitcoin dominance getting to that 57 level, because right now, even though it's coming down, it's still sideways. Like, this isn't telling me that it's bearish anyway. You can see that the 50 and the 200 are way below it, so we're still in a bullish move, I think, for Bitcoin dominance, which is not necessarily the most bullish thing for alts, but we will see. Little pumps here, 5-4%. They look great on paper, but when you look at everything in terms of technicals, the patterns that they're putting in, alts still look like a shitty deal compared to Bitcoin here. I think Bitcoin and Ether, and I'll even throw Solana in there as not being necessarily one of those other altcoins. It seems like it's got some relative strength here. I would assume that those are going to be the ones that are important to watch, while the rest of the alt market might have some winners here and there, but they're not going to be like, I don't know, maybe like AVAX, when AVAX started pumping like crazy this year, right? When it started getting these March gains and everything like that. It's probably going to be more of like trading in these patterns or so until we finally get a definitive move from the greater crypto market. So that would be my assumption. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying these are the possibilities, and I think that we should be open to anything because I can't tell if it's going up or down at this point. Kind of just have to let everything play out. That's all I got on the crypto front.
It is the summer of the institutions.
Really
I did see a tweet that I think a big part of what's driving this is, some well-respected people saying that they're now believing that an ETH ETF approval is a much higher probability. Maybe that's what's driving this at the moment. If so,
that would actually be a good thing for us. I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to get all these stupid news events out of the way, and then the market can kind of just control itself, right? I think what we see is continuing hype, 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 hype. There's still a ton of money out there. I will not deny that one bit, but there's a lot of institutional money out there, and at some point they have to question themselves: who are we really playing against, right? If there's no retail, no consumers in the market, then they're just betting it's player versus player against each other. That's going to be the really interesting thing to see, because usually retail is the one that's left holding the bag. Right now, are they playing? Maybe. I don't know.
So this is the source of that. Eric here is the senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg. So not a nobody by any stretch, but now saying that he believes there's a 75% chance of the ETF being approved. So, hey, listen, maybe that's what's driving it right now. If so, good for my bag.
He's favorable to it too, right? Gary is favorable to ETH. We know that.
Yeah, he is. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today's show. I think it was a good one. I think we had a good conversation all around. I'm feeling good about the week ahead. We got the fireworks going on for Kev. You love to see that. We'll be back later this week to discuss more of what is going on. ETH just hit 3,400. Dear mother of God.
Oh, well,
Bitcoin is on the way to 70K. Holy shit. Okay. Enjoy looking at the charts the rest of the day, folks. Have some fun with that.
Yeah.
We go through these boring periods, and then we get to have fireworks. Kevin, do the fireworks again.
Is it doing it?
There we go. All right.
There we go.
If you have not yet, do us a favor. Like, subscribe, comment, share us out. Any of that stuff is appreciated. We'll be back throughout the week to keep you posted on the latest in the markets. NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. That's going to be a big one. Appreciate. I did not sell any of my ETH. I'm still sitting on it. It's just,
Nice.
I contemplate things. I look at things. I have to wonder, what's next. And I'm glad I didn't sell anything. So here we are. All right. That's going to do it, folks. Have an awesome day. Enjoy the pumping crypto here. You've earned it. And we will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.